Hey, what's up you guys? In this video, I'm going to be brainstorming for book 2 of my high fantasy novel series, I guess, that I call Project DE. So this is DE book 2. Again, kind of a tongue twister. I will figure out how I want to say that in the future, but I have officially started brainstorming for book 2 of Project DE. I got back from writing group a little bit ago and I spent writing group rereading the master doc that I had for DE book 1, which is a document that's 46,000 words long. It's 122 pages, but I know that I will feel more prepared for book 2 after I finish rereading this document. I got about 20 pages into my 120 page long document at writing group tonight, as well as looking through the notes on my phone and just like searching for DE book 2 and copy and pasting over any of the ideas that I had found in the notes on my phone. And my DE book 2 document is currently 25 pages long of notes and ideas. This will not all make it into DE book 2, but it's good to just kind of like refresh my brain before I begin step 2 of brainstorming and preparing to write book 2 of Project DE, which is like the official brainstorming phase. So I wanted to reread all of my notes, and I still will need to reread all of my notes before I then move into brainstorming, which will then lead into step 3, which is trying to piece together a little bit of an outline. I am a pantser, but because this is book 2 in a series and I already have established the characters in the world and the magic system within book 1, I think I will be able to outline a little bit, especially considering that there are multiple POVs in book 1 and book 2. I think that a little bit of an outline will give me some structure for then when I begin to write book 2. So I'm just going to keep trucking along and rereading those notes. While I'm rereading this document, it makes sense to start brainstorming for both books 2 and 3 while I'm doing this so that I don't have to read this 46,000 word document twice. And basically, as I'm reading through it, I think I'm currently like 33 pages out of like 120. Okay, page 38 out of 122 pages. And as I've been going, I've been copy and pasting over any notes that are still relevant into a new document that I'm calling my brainstorming document for book 2. In this process, I've also come up with like a couple tiny things I want to add to book 1 that are seriously just like lines. Well, I want to rewrite like 2 of the chapters, but we're not going to talk about that because most of the changes that I want to make or things that I want to add are like just a sentence or 2 throughout the story, just so that some of the things that happen in book 2 make a little bit more sense. So like I said, I'm like 38 pages into this 122 page document so far. I was surprised at like the first 20 pages how much was still relevant because this document is from so long ago. And then I got to some stuff where I'm like, oh yeah, this doesn't make any sense for the story anymore. This is when I was just trying to like pants the first book and trying to figure out what happens in the story. And at that point, the story was the entire series in one book, because when I sat down to originally start writing Project DE, I thought it was going to be like a 400 or 500 page fantasy novel. And then I got about 400 pages into it and I was like, oh, I'm only a third of the way into the story. And hence it became a trilogy, which was a very long time ago now. So I've known for a number of years, probably upwards of like 5 years now, that DE is going to be a series, and that's 3 books to be exact. But I have been surprised at how much is still relevant and how much is just completely like left field, does not apply, would take the story in a completely different direction, like does not work at all for the story anymore. And it's been fun to read through just because of how vastly different some of the ideas have been. But that's part of why I'm including rereading this document as part of my brainstorming step instead of after I start writing, just to make sure that I can keep like through lines consistent throughout the 3 books. I can keep characters consistent. I can keep any of the ideas that I originally had for later on in the original book that was going to be 400 pages still show up in the rest of the series. I've also had some really surprising brainstorming sessions. Surprising as in they surprised me. I have gotten on the treadmill a couple times and just put a song on repeat, and I can walk for like 45 minutes or an hour on the treadmill and have it feel like 5 minutes just because of how furiously I'm typing away on my phone. I'm having so many ideas for books 2 and 3. I already had a gist because when I started writing book 1, again, when it was going to be just one book, I knew where the story started and I knew where the story ended. And I knew some of the things that needed to happen between points A and B, more seriously like A and Z. But now I'm getting to actually brainstorm how we get from point A to point Z. I have been brainstorming a lot for book 2. It has been a lot of fun so far. I have 2/3 of this document still to read through and to continue brainstorming for books 2 and 3. Today is January 9th. I have not worked worked on brainstorming for book 2 in probably about 3 weeks. So basically I haven't worked on it since before I left for the holidays. Currently it's like 1 o'clock. I'm about to head to the gym. I feel like I have been so on top of my routine today. It has felt so good to get back into it. But as a part of getting back into my routine, obviously that means working on my creative projects, which means that I'm hoping to get some brainstorming done later today. And when I say brainstorming, I'm still working on rereading my notes document and seeing what ideas that sparks for book 2. Yesterday ended up just being a work day. That's the joy of being out of town for a really long time, is that when you get back into town, not only do you need to do work stuff, you also have to do everything else tied with being back in your space. But today we're writing, and I know that I'm writing today because I'm going somewhere with a friend and we're gonna do some freaking writing. Or for me, you know, brainstorming for book 2. But I'm excited. Honestly, haven't even thought all that deeply about being creative again since getting back from the trip. But I'm hoping that I'll fall back into it quickly, and I'm sure it's gonna be a great day. We tried going to one place first, and then we got kicked out because they were hosting an event. So then we went to a coffee shop, and I probably got like an hour, slightly over an hour's worth done, which it was a little hard to get back into just because my break from it has been so long. But I came up with a couple really cool scene ideas for book 2 as I was rereading my notes document. I think I'm 40-ish pages in, maybe like 45 pages into like a 120-page document. So there's still definitely more to be done. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get more done tonight or not, but it felt good to get back into it for this year. Going over my notes document has been so interesting because I'll have pages of this like organized notes document where I'm copy and pasting over like every other paragraph that I have, or like every other idea roughly. And then I'll hit pages, like a 20-page section where nothing is relevant anymore. Like I had one of my characters fall for a different character originally. I had one of my characters unalive somebody that she no longer unalives, and I just cannot imagine like that train of thought anymore. And it's just like so interesting to like look back and just see like all of the different ideas that I've had for this story over the years, how much the story has changed, and some parts have stayed like somewhat consistent. But I've talked about this in past videos too. My original concept for the story actually ended up becoming the villain's backstory, which like in and of itself should tell you that a lot of things changed. And then I like come across something where, you know, now that I've written and done 7 drafts of book 1, I'm very certain that some of these things like won't come up again in books 2 and 3, or won't have the opportunity to come up just because the story is now so different, even though I still like some of the same ideas. Maybe at some point in time I could recycle those into a different story, but it is just so interesting that I just have so much information in this document. Again, like 122 pages, but also just like how drastically random and different some of it is. I'm glad I have all of it, like don't get me wrong, but it is amazing both how much is still relevant and how much is just completely off base now. But as I've been rereading my notes document, I've been coming up with other ideas, which include things that have been sparked because I'm reading the notes document, as well as like spin-off ideas I'm having, just random new ideas I'm having for books 2 and 3. So when I set out to start doing this, I kind of saw like 3 steps where I started with rereading the notes document, and then I brainstormed, and then I outlined. But those first 2 steps of rereading the notes document and brainstorming have very much bled together and just become one step as I'm moving all of the book 2 ideas into a new document. But because I took so long away from this for the holidays, I don't really want to outline. Honestly, I am just like chomping at the bit. I'm like forcing myself to finish rereading this notes document. I just want to be done, and I just want to start on book 2. But this is one of those things where I told myself that I was going to reread the notes document to make sure that I wasn't forgetting anything primarily, but also I wanted to make sure that if I had written down any ideas for book 2 or book 3 that I refreshed my brain, especially if that means that I set up for it in book 1. I don't want to just like completely leave something out in book 2, at least in the rough draft. Hopefully it would be caught later, but you know, trying to give myself as solid of a base as I possibly can. So I'm making myself finish reading this, but I am so freaking ready to start writing book 2. Some of the comments I left for myself in my DE book 1, draft 1 or draft 2-ish document, whatever the notes document is that I'm rereading, are really funny because I came across one last night that said I could just not have blank on the main continent and then I wouldn't have to answer that. I ended up not doing that, and there is the blank thing in book 1, but I just love how I'm like, well, if it's not included, you don't need to figure it out. I finished the notes document. Thank goodness. I feel like I've just been like spinning my wheels trying to finish it since like maybe page 60 of the 122 page document, because like I'm just excited about getting started. I just want to get started, but I was making myself reread my notes document to make sure that I wasn't missing anything. There were definitely a lot of really good ideas in there, but fewer things than I think I need to actually start writing book 2. I'm cold. I need to turn my car on. I'll talk to you guys when I get home. So I know that I said that I was going to brainstorm and then I was going to outline, but now that I have reread the 122 page notes document, I feel like I'm ready to start writing. I know enough of how the story starts and I know enough of where the story's going that I don't think I need to outline right now. I probably still will choose to at some point, but I think it's time to start writing. And I'm so freaking excited, you guys. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching this brainstorming video. I'm so excited because I think in the next video, I'm going to be starting to write book 2 of Project DE. So make sure you like and subscribe so you can stick around for that. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.